Hello everybody and a very warm welcome to the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza for the first of two races this weekend for the Seat Leon Eurocup as we very much get towards the business end of the season. This is the sixth of 7 rounds. The cars last in action a couple of weeks ago at the Nürburgring have made the trip across Europe to a somewhat damp and overcast day here in Monza. It was incredibly wet first thing this morning, but the rain stopped actually pretty much midway through qualifying for the Seat Leon Eurocup, and thereafter it has held off. But it's only really been in the last hour or so that we have had the beginnings of a dry line emerging. Here is our pole sitter Julien Brichet, who is currently fourth in the championship standings. Had a nightmare weekend at the Nürburgring and was out of the points, but he has been on the podium a couple of times this season, but not since the second event of the season, Estoril, in mid-May. This is a golden opportunity for Brichet, who was twice a winner last season, including here at Monza, to get back into winning ways. He shares the front row of the grid with the driver who is sixth in the championship standings. That is Mario de Blanda. De Blanda, who has really come into a very rich vein of form in the second half of the season. Second place at the Red Bull Ring was backed up by a runners-up finish in race 2 at the Nürburgring. Now, can he go one better over the next 11 laps, which is our race distance? Although if we do get the intrusion of a safety car, then we can revert to a 40-minute time period. So there you see the last checks being made to the Yokohama tyres of Julien Brichet's JSB racing car. Thumbs up in the cockpit from the Frenchman. He is ready to go. There is the car of Mario de Blanda, the South Austrian driver. De Blanda, who has previously claimed the European Touring Car Cup single make championship. Lining up third on the grid is Thibaut Mourgue, the Frenchman who always goes well here in Monza. He got his best result of last season with 7th place at Monza, and is yet to improve on 7th so far in 2015. Lining up in 4th is the championship leader Stian Poulsen, the Norwegian who scored his second victory of the season in race 1 at the Nürburgring to build on the one that he scored at Silverstone. 5th on the grid for Lucille Cipriano, who is one of the preeminent competitors in the Lady Driver Trophy, and Cipriano yet to break into a race victory, but has been there or thereabouts all season. Lining up 6th on the grid in the Wolf Power racing car is the South African driver Shane Williams. Williams, who joined the campaign at the Red Bull Ring, has already had 2 podiums on his 4 outings, has finished in the top 5 every single time that he has started a race this year in the Seat Leon Eurocup. He will be hoping that that run continues, but a little bit of work being done to the car on the grid, possibly just some last-minute setup changes, and what looks very much like slick tyres possibly being readied. Next along then, 7th on the grid for Jordi Oriola, the 19-year-old Spaniard. He finished 9th in last year's championship. He's already had a couple of podiums so far this season, including 3rd last time out in Germany. 8th on the grid is the reigning champion Paul Rosell, who was running away with the title fight up to the end of the Red Bull Ring weekend, but he had a nightmare at the Nürburgring with a best of a 7th place. But he should not be discounted, nor should Manuel João, the Poro Motorsport driver who was runner-up in last year's championship and fastest in free practice yesterday. He won last year at Monza, but has had a nightmare campaign, only 1 point-scoring finish. Completing the top 10 is another of the youthful Spaniards, Fran Rueda. 2 wins this season for Fran, both of them coming in reverse grid races on the Sunday morning. So he looks to improve on his 8th from the 2014 campaign. So the grid just being cleared, and tyre choice is clearly going to be critical. The track probably not damp enough now for wet tyres, but it is going to be plenty slippery, particularly offline for those on slicks. And they will have to be very diligent during the early stages of the race, in particular the run into the Rettifilio is always one of the most congested and exhilarating of the season, as the grid is ready for the start of the race. This is the second season of the reconstituted Seat Leon Eurocup. Once more, absolutely phenomenal success. We have had gigantic grids throughout the course of 2015 and some excellent racing as well. The way that each race weekend works is that the grid for race 1 is set by the qualifying order from Saturday morning. The grid for race 2 is a reversal of the top 8 of that qualifying, and always produces a lot of lively entertainment. There is the car of Alex Morgan. Morgan victorious in race 2 at the Nürburgring, the 28-year-old British driver who's graduated to Pan-European competition, having raced the past couple of seasons in the United Kingdom Clio Cup. Morgan well up in the top 6 in the championship standings, but really it's turning into a three-way fight between Stian Poulsen, Paul Rosell and Michael Ascona. Poulsen at the top of the standings on 63 points, Rosell 5 points adrift on 58, and then Ascona on 50. But Michael Ascona, a bit of a nightmare qualifying for him, and will line up in 11th. Here's the grid in full then. Julien Brichet and Mario Dablanda on the front row, then Thibaut Morg and Stian Poulsen, Lucille Cipriano and Shane Anthony Williams completing the top 6. Oriola and Paul Rosell, then Manuel João, Fran Rueda, Michael Ascona and Alex Morgan should both improve from the 6th row. That is a very quick row. Enrico Beirel de Viega went very well at the Nürburgring. He lines up in 13th, just clear of Jürgen Schmal. Mauricio Hernandez, another star of the Nürburgring, will have been disappointed to have ended up in 18th after qualifying, but watch for the Costa Rican to try and climb up through the order. Jean-Laurent Navarro has had plenty of bad luck this season. He completes the top 20, just clear of Finlay Crocker and Mari Bauskas-Pens. Then it's Adina Bus and Stefano Zanini, with Marco Pellegrini completing the 25-car grid. As the field pick their way through the Rettifilio, you can see that the dry line is now apparent. And that has really only happened in the last 25 minutes or so. But also, as they head towards Curva Grande, you can get a sense that offline it's still very slick and slippery. And therefore, over the course of this race, the drivers are going to have to be very, very mindful about where they look to challenge for overtaking opportunities. Always the braking zone into this second chicane is one of the prime choices. So you can still see some dark tarmac to the inside. Likewise into the first Lesmo, very damp offline. Not really a surprise as this Monza circuit winds its way through the Royal Parkland, cutting a tunnel between the trees. Particularly the section through the Lesmos and then the run towards Ascari. That is where it is likely to be the most treacherous. When it gets out into the open a little bit more, coming out of Ascari into the Parabolica, that's where the track will have really begun to dry out. So plenty of weaving around, warming up the Yokohama tyres. So we catch a glimpse of Clément Mathieu in the 73 car. Clément Mathieu graduating from the French Clio Cup. Having had a frustrating start season, there is Jordi Oriola. Oriola yet to score victory in the Seat Leon Eurocup. He's had a couple of podiums already this season at Silverstone and the Nürburgring. He has got some serious firepower lining up behind him in the form of Paul Rosell and Manuel João. So it's the blue car of Julien Brichet. Weaves down the back straight towards the Parabolica. Behind him is the predominantly grey car with the fluorescent orange flashes. That is Mario Dablanda. Watch for them into the Rettifilio for the first time. Then behind we have got Thibaut Morg and Stian Poulsen. Poulsen, the all-white number 34 car. And it's another white car in 5th place. That is Lucille Cipriano for the multicoloured, white bonneted but red and gold car, Wolf Power Racing car of Shane Anthony Williams. There is Michael Ascona, again a largely white car but with the grey and red flashes. So we've got 11 laps ahead of us here. First, the 11th race of the Seat Leon Eurocup season. Will Julien Brichet be able to score his first triumph of the year? Will it possibly be Mario Dablanda or indeed somebody else altogether? We're about to find out as Brichet rolls to his marks in pole position. Just looking under the car, plenty of streaks of grey. So they form up in that 1-by-1 formation. So it's the blue of Brichet, the grey of Dablanda, then the white cars of Morg and Stian Poulsen, the white car with the black bonnet of Lucille Cipriano, and the white bonnet and red car of Shane Anthony Williams. Watch for the car with the blue bonnet. That is the reigning champion, Paul Rosell, as he will look, I'm sure, to gain ground into the first turn. But at the same time, for Poulsen and Rosell, getting to the flag with points is going to be just as critical. Here is Marco Pellegrini. Driver finished 24th last season, yet to get into the points this year. We get the green flag, waved for the marshal at the rear of the field, so eyes to the gantry, the red lights are on now. Out they go, and we're racing once more in the Seat Leon Eurocup. It's a brilliant start from Paul Rosell, who gets the jump on Shane Williams as they sprint towards the Rettifilio for the first time. Now this is going to be very, very tight. It's Brichet who's got the advantage over Thibaut Morg, who slots into second. Then it's Dablanda as Rosell runs out a little bit wide. He takes Lucille Cipriano with him for company. Several of them going straight on, and now we've got problems. Somebody spinning around, more contact at the rear of the field. Andrina Guga is one of the drivers who's caught up in that. It's Guga who's facing in the wrong direction as she looks to reclaim the circuit. Meanwhile, out front it is Brichet from Morg at the front of the pack. Then it's Dablanda in 3rd place. Stian Poulsen challenges for 3rd, and Poulsen slips through into 3rd, rides the curbs down to 4th as a result. Goes Dablanda in 5th. We've got Lucille Cipriano. 6th is Jordi Oriola. 7th Fran Rueda, and down to 8th, despite the excellent start, is Paul Rosell. There is Rosell looking to challenge Rueda. In fact, I think he may well be able to get past on the way into the second Lesmo. Indeed he does. Then next up it's Lorenzo Beirao de Viega as they come through the second Lesmo, and then the run towards Ascari. Manuel Gial's rather lost out in these opening exchanges. Flick their way through Ascari, and that first gap in the traffic really back to Rosella's got this huge queue of cars forming up behind him. There is Mauricio Hernandez. Here's another look at the first corner, and those behind that got caught out. It's more 1 or 2 cars being pushed into the gravel trap. Andrina Guga, 1 or 2, ended up facing in the wrong direction. Another look at it was Rosell outbraked himself. He forced Lucille Cipriano out wide. Jordi Oriola following through. Shane Williams got badly caught out. Mauricio Hernandez tipped a little bit wide. Also caught up in that was Tilo Tassi. We've got waved yellow flags then into the Rettifilio. 1 or 2 of them clearly failing to make it to the end of the lap. For the leaders, that's not an issue behind. They were 3 wide, arriving into the braking zone. Hopefully they'll get all of that resolved. They do. So I think it's Morgan. Caught a glimpse of him in 12th, just behind Manuel Gial. That is the reason why. It's the car of Shane Anthony Williams which has ground to a halt. So now Julien Brichet under real pressure from Morg. Then a gap back to Stian Poulsen, who's 3rd. 4th, Mario Dablanda. 5th, Lucille Cipriano. 6th, Jordi Oriola. Fran Rueda looking to find a way past David Sebrian. Sebrian at the head of this queue. Then it's the orange car, Lorenzo Beirao de Viega. He's got his Portuguese compatriot Manuel João just tucked up behind him then. Alexander Morgan. Attila Tassi next in the queue. Ready the long sprint towards Ascari for the second time, and this is beginning to look very good for Julien Brichet and indeed the JSB team there. 2 cars, Brichet and Morg out front, Stian Poulsen in third. He's already got a fair bit of ground to try and make up, and what we have seen time and time again in the Seat Leon Eurocup is that because the cars, to all intents and purposes, are absolutely identical, barring 1 or 2 setup tweaks, it is very, very difficult to close down the gap once one has opened, particularly as you can see Morg and Brichet working in tandem. Dablander has a little bit of a nibble to the inside of Stian Poulsen, to the inside of the Parabolica. I don't think that's going to really aid the Austrian, but he carries the momentum through and now gets tucked up right behind Poulsen as they run along the start and finish straight. Meanwhile, Thibaut Morg thinks about looking to challenge for the lead of the race. Julien Brichet, so they've got just enough pace in his pocket. Meanwhile, behind it's almost 3 wide. Lucille Cipriano looking one side, then the other as Stian Poulsen defends the inside line to the Rettifilio. Dablander looks to the outside. Does he find the traction? He takes to the curb. He might argue that Poulsen pushed him there. Dablander therefore bounces through into third place. The next queue of cars. Negotiate it safely as still Dablander and Poulsen run side by side to Curva Grande. They've got Lucille Cipriano and then Jordi Oriola queued up behind them. Squirming on the brakes into the chicane. Again, Poulsen covers the inside line. Dablander to the outside. The Austrian looking for space that isn't really there. Once more, he gets shown a trip across the curbs. And still, Poulsen can't categorically shut the door. But only now into the first Lesmo does Dablander decide just to slot back into position. But he's still asking all the right questions. And of course, as they battle, what it's doing is giving the leading duo of Julien Brichet and Thibaut Morg chance to build an ever more substantial advantage at the very front of the field. Here are the race leaders. Brichet and Morg, it was 2.3 seconds, the advantage over Stian Poulsen at the end of lap 2. Maybe a little bit more than that at the end of the third tour. Through Ascari. No change in the order. Then there's a gap back from Oriola in 6th to Paul Rosell in 7th. So in terms of the championship, this is all good news for Stian Poulsen. More points over principal rival Paul Rosell. Again, Dablander looks to the inside of the Parabolica, and this time he turns in. Oh, there's contact, and Poulsen gets pushed around. He shut the door of Mario Dablander. The Austrian driver skirts up against the tyre wall, and Poulsen rejoins behind Paul Rosell. And Dablander is going to join a long, long way down the pack. Well, just as we were saying, as it was good news in the championship for Stian Poulsen. Now, all of that gets thrown onto its head a little bit. The only good news for both of them is Michael the Skonas down in 19th place, having been caught up in the first corner instance. So the new order is Julien Brichet leads from Thibaut Morg and Lucille Cipriano. And then we have got Jordi Oriola in 4th, Rosell is in 5th, as now David Sambrian comes under pressure from Manuel João. João in the green and orange car looks to the outside of Sambrian. Alex Morgan in the white and black car looks to the inside. A piece of asphalt currently occupied by the Renko Beirao de Viega. That all gets very, very congested into the chicane. It's Sambrian who loses out, or does he? He takes to the curbs to reassert his position. João defends into the first Lesmo. Again, they have no option but to sort themselves momentarily back into single file. Really is momentarily. They are being joined as well by Attila Tassi. He's in the silver car, just behind them. Biaro flashing his headlights. Those in front of him. Meanwhile, front of the race remains as it was. Brichet from Morg, Cipriano, Oriola, Rosell in 5th, Stian Poulsen in 6th, Fran Rader in 7th. And then we get into this scrap behind the challenge for the lead, and Thibaut Morg to the inside of Julien Brichet. Morg claims the advantage. And now it's Brichet's turn to settle into the slipstream behind him. And the pair of them have got to be careful they don't battle too intensely amongst themselves, because that might just slow them into the clutches of Lucille Cipriano or Uriola and the rest of them. Now, Julien Brichet looks to challenge Morg on the break into Rettifilio. No way through on that occasion. No way through likewise for Oriola, looking to challenge Lucille Cipriano behind in this titanic scrap going on for 8th place. Renko Bearau looking to the inside of Manuel Xiao. Alex Morgan trying to pick his way through all of this. 8th place, of course, the last of the point-paying places. Dina Bus taking a trip through the escape road. She's going to be demoted behind Clément Mathieu down into 15th as a result of all of that. Here is the fight for the lead. We are on lap 5 of 11 here in the 11th race of the season for the Seat Leon Eurocup. Thank you for joining us this afternoon in Monza. Thibaut Morg is our race leader. 2nd place, Julien Brichet. 3rd is Lucille Cipriano. 4th, Jordi Oriola. 5th is Paul Rosell. Into the pit lane and very emphatically out of the race is Marie-Belle Scopens. There's a lot of debris currently along the back straight, which possibly goes some way to explaining what happened to Marie-Belle Scopens. Meanwhile, running very, very wide, it's Fran Rueda, who somehow rejoins the track for a moment. That looks as if he was on a trajectory towards something solid and immovable. As now Jordi Oriola looks to apply the pressure to Lucille Cipriano in the fight for 3rd. They're about to be joined by Paul Rosell and Stian Poulsen. Stian Poulsen and Mario de Blanda under investigation for their collision into the Parabolica. Meanwhile, David Sebrian under pressure from Attila Tassi as we head into lap 6. So we are almost at half race distance. And now a challenge for 3rd. Oriola sees a gap to the inside. It's Rettifilio. Across the escape road goes Lucille Cipriano. Now, Jordi Oriola might have a case here. Cipriano gained a little bit of an advantage. Also running straight on is Lourenco Bearau de Viega. He will rejoin pretty much where he left proceedings. Indeed he does. Slots back into line behind Manuel Xiao, but under immediate pressure from Alexander Morgan. That the fight for 8th, 9th and 10th. Two leaders running in tandem, building buffer over Cipriano, who retains that 3rd place. We'll wait to see whether or not she comes under investigation for that, as in fact Thibaut Morg, the pace he's setting at present is actually just enough to begin to open a chink of daylight between himself and Julien Brichet. Yes, the gap goes out further still through the 2nd sector on this lap. Julien Brichet, who would dearly love the 10 points for the victory, because that would bring him hurtling back in to the championship fight. He'll get 8 points if he finishes in 2nd position. And this on a day when Stian Poulsen, currently set for 3 points, 4 points heading the way of Paul Rosell. There's Morgan just up behind Manuel Xiao. Now, where is Lourenco Bearau de Viega in all of that? David Sebrian under pressure from Attila Tassi. Yeah, so we've lost Bearau de Viega somewhere over the course of the last lap. He's disappeared from the trains of cars as again Brichet closes up in pursuit of Thibaut Morg on to lap 7 of the race. Just 5 remain. So Michele Ascona posts the fastest lap, and Ascona now beginning to be upwardly mobile through the field. Onto that fastest lap, he has now moved up into 13th place. Timing screen tells us the incident between Stian Poulsen and Mario de Blanda will now be concluded will be investigated after the race, so no impact on track position for Dablander or Poulsen. Whether or not the result is retrospectively altered, we will find out. This has been much better from Julien Brichot over the past few moments. Also, the fight for third comes together because now Paul Rosell, as he has done so often in the last season and a half, is making the best of a difficult qualifying and is really beginning to close up into that fight for third place. Stian Poulsen in sixth is more concerned, possibly with the progress of Fran Wader behind him. Through Ascari and the long run towards the Parabolica. Jean-Laurent Navarro pulls the side of the road. He was in 21st place. Fear that he will not be making it through to the checker flaggers now. Julien Brichot lines up the move on Thibaut Morg towards the Parabolica. Can't quite find a way past on the way in, but Morg runs a little bit wide onto the slippery stuff to the exit, and that is going to give Julien Brichot the opportunity just to get the power down a little bit more evenly as he draws alongside his GSB teammate as they run along the start and finish straight, but no way past for Julien Brichot. Just 4 laps remain. About the fight for third. Oriola again right onto terms with Lucille Cipriano, but can't find a way past the French driver. A little bit of debris though. Gets scattered from Cipriano's car. I don't know whether that was possibly some debris that she picked up elsewhere on the track from somebody else's incident. Meanwhile, Alex Morgan and Manuel Xiao busy disputing 8th place and the final point. The two leaders almost running as one now. Julien Brichot, the ever-present shadow behind Thibaut Morg. Then we have the gap in the traffic back to Lucille Cipriano. She has got Jordi Oriola and Paul Rosell running in tandem behind. Then further gap back to Stian Poulsen and Fran Wader. A bit surprised that Poulsen possibly hasn't been able to stay with this battle for third position. And this, one of the best Saturday races that we've had of the season so far in the Seat Leon Eurocup. Great fight for the lead, equally intriguing battle for third, and you know that it's all going to really crackle into action over the next couple of laps or so. Morgan looks to challenge Manuel Xiao, can't find a way past him. Then the next group of cars, that's David Sebrian, who has got Michael Ascona trying to fight his way past. That's Attila Tassi, who he draws alongside. And Tassi very nearly just has to correct the car on the exit of Ascari. Once more, Thibaut Morg living it a little bit dangerously in terms of being out to the very, very periphery of the Parabolica. Michael Ascona, meanwhile, able, at least on the way into the Parabolica, to get past Attila Tassi, but then outbrakes himself and runs very wide. And Ascona's going to have to do it all over again. That's going to see him shuffled down to 13th place. It's Mauricio Hernandez in the green and black car now, who's at the tail of the queue. He challenges the silver car of Tassi. All the while, though, it's the white machine of David Sebrian. He just sticks the car in the middle of the road. It's Tassi who takes evasive action, and he rejoins at quite an acute angle. He's going to lose out to both Hernandez and Ascona as they head on towards Curva Grande. This is the battle for 10th place. Through Curva Grande on towards then second of the chicanes. Ascona looks to the inside of Hernandez and able to sneak past Michael Ascona, who absolutely dominated the first race of the year at Paul Ricard, yet to return to the top step of the rostrum. Runner-up in last year's European Clio Cup. It's adapted very well to the Seat Leon Eurocup. It's finding that there is a real intensity of competition all the way through the field. We are on lap 9 of 11, just 2.5 remain. And this is an absolutely fantastic battle for 10th place, as again, Sabriant just using all of the road that he possibly can. Slightly battle-scarred car of Attila Tassi, trying to challenge Mauricio Hernandez as they work out of Ascari. This time it's Cebrian who just gets caught on the AstroTurf, pushes the car out wide. Is that going to give Ascona the chance to challenge into the Parabolica? We will find out, as now into the penultimate lap of the race goes our race leader, the white car of Thibaut Morg. The blue machine of Julien Brichet follows him along the start and finish straight. In third place it remains Lucille Cipriano. Fourth is Jordi Arreola. Fifth, Paul Rosell. Sixth, Stian Poulsen. Seventh is Fran Raider. And in eighth place, completing the points placings, it is Manuel Xiao. And this has been an absolutely fantastic performance from Lucille Cipriano, because she has had a queue of cars behind her really throughout the course of the race, but nobody's been able to launch a sustained challenge to wrench her from that podium finish. Julien Brichet once more begins to turn up the heat on Thibaut Morg. He's only got a lap and a half with which to find a way past. The same goes for Jordi Arreola in fourth. Paul Rosell is there in fifth, just waiting, I would suspect, to see how events unfold. Last time through, it was Lucille Cipriano who indeed set the fastest lap of the race. Out of the second of the Lesmo corners and on towards Ascari, the leading quintet, having broken 4 seconds clear of Stian Poulsen in sixth. Now Julien Brichet going to be able to find a way past Thibaut Morg. Pole sitter Brichet demoted early on the race. Meanwhile, here is a replay of Michael Ascona challenging David Cebrian. It was Ascona's turn to be pushed wide. Cebrian having a huge bounce over the sausage curb and being pitched into the gravel trap. And that is going to jettison him now to 13th place and out the back of the scrap. Let's have another look at it. They both run wide, but it's then Cebrian takes 2 big impacts off the curb, does a little bit of damage to his front spoiler. Michael Ascona's moment of triumph didn't last too long. He ran wide on the exit of the first Lesmo. So we go into the final lap of the 11th race of the season, and the fight for the lead is still exactly as it has been for the last 5 or so tours of the circuit. Thibaut Morg being consistently pressurised by Julien Brichet, but Morg putting 2 wheels in the gravel trap at the exit of the Rettifilio. This is going to be Julien Brichet's opportunity. He draws to the inside as they turn through Curva Grande, and Julien Brichet reclaims the lead of the race. Now, can Thibaut Morg challenge on the brakes into the chicane? Morg to the right-hand side of your screen, Brichet to left, and Thibaut Morg does indeed snatch back the lead and crucially gets it squared off through the chicane. But again, 2 wheels in the gravel trap on the exit. But it doesn't slow him enough for Brichet to challenge into the first Lesmo. Do they both make it through safely? Yes, they do. And it was a little bit smoother from Morg. On to the second. This is where the exit will be crucial for that run towards Ascari. This would be Thibaut Morg's first victory in the South Leon Eurocup. His best result of 2015 has been a 7th place. But now he is just a couple of corners from home into Ascari, and Brichet again not close enough to challenge. The same in third, Lucille Cipriano clear of Jordi Arreola. Just the Parabolica to go. Julien Brichet tucked up right behind Thibaut Morg. Thibaut Morg covers the inside line, weaves around, as does Julien Brichet. Brichet has to commit to the outside line. He will find the traction there. Has Thibaut Morg over-committed to the inside? No, he hasn't. And now Thibaut Morg is looking very, very well set here to score victory in the South Leon Eurocup. He accelerates through the final turn. The checker flag goes out, and it is a win for Thibaut Morg. 2nd place to Julien Brichet, and 3rd to Lucille Cipriano. A great day for the JSB competition team. 4th was Jordi Arreola, 5th Paul Rosell. Stian Poulsen takes 6th, Manuel Xiao in 7th, and 8th goes to Alex Morgan, with Fran Rueda shuffled down to 9th on the final lap. What about the battle for 10th? And it's finally going to be claimed by Attila Tassi from Mauricio Hernandez and Michael Ascona. Hernandez sporting a few battle scars. Marco Pellegrini takes 13th from Clément Mathieu and Adina Bus. Now this is how it all unfolded between Hernandez and Tassi. Plenty of bumping through that final lap. None of it, I think, entirely intentional, more just the nature of a very slippery surface. That's exactly what happened there for Mauricio Hernandez. An excellent race, as ever, from the competitors in the Seat Leon Eurocup. And of course, they have got their second race of the weekend, the reverse grid race, to come tomorrow. That will get underway at 11:50 Central European time. So don't forget to join us for that. For now, though, celebration for Thibaut Mourgue and Julien Brichet. They have utterly dominated. A brilliant performance for the JSB competition team. They have locked out the podium here in Monza. It's a result that brings Julien Brichet's title fight back into life. Those 8 points could be very, very helpful for Stian Poulsen. Well, he climbs to 66 points with the 3 points that he'll have got for 6th place. Paul Rosell up to 62 points. So we take a look at the classification. So the victory for Thibaut Mourgue, second for Julien Brichet, third Lucille Cipriano, fourth Jordi Oriola, fifth Paul Rosell, sixth was Stian Poulsen, seventh Manuel João, and eighth Alex Morgan. João setting the fast lap of the race. Ninth, Fran Raider, Attila Tassi completing the top 10 after the epic battle with Mauricio Hernandez and Michele Skoda. Marco Pellegrini in 13th, ahead of Clément Mathieu. Then Adina Bus, Jürgen Schmal, Finlay Crocker, David Zebrian fading late on. Disappointment for Mario Dablander after that contact with Stian Poulsen. So there you see it in terms of the championship. 4-point advantage for Poulsen and Rosell. The title fight still very much in their favour, but Julien Brichet giving himself an outside shot because there is still 33 points left on the table in the remaining 3 races. So absolutely anything could happen. For now, running into Parc Fermé, flashing his headlights, is Thibaut Mourgue. An absolutely unflappable performance under sustained pressure from Julien Brichet, but it was Mourgue who made that darting move to the inside of the parabolic, and you can see just how delighted the Frenchman is as he pops the door open and steps out. Lucille Cipriano not only completed the podium, but she, of course, claims the Lady Driver's Trophy as a result of that performance. Handshake from Brichet to teammate Mourgue. Congratulations as well to Lucille Cipriano. 3 very happy drivers, all of whom putting in an excellent performance. For Mourgue and Cipriano, withstanding a lot of pressure through the course of the race. So we'll head down to Parc Fermé in a moment's time to hear from our race winner. So he receives the spoils of victory with the Yokohama hat. Just needs to disentangle all his earplugs. So the crowd reflect on what's an excellent race. The championship fight really coming to the boil. So let's now go down to Parc Fermé and hear from our race winner, Thibaut Mourgue.
Thibaut, tell us your first victory this season, so you have to be a lot so happy.
It's just fantastic. It's my first win of my career here in Monza. It's just amazing. We make a fantastic job with the team. 1, 2, 3. It's just perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Brief word then from a delighted winner. Let's have a look back then at the highlights of the race. And off the line, it was pole sitter Julien Brichet who got the advantage. Thibaut Mourgue, though, jumping Mario Dablander as the field went to the Rettifilio for the first time. Behind it all got very, very congested. Lucille Cipriano and Paul Rosell both fortunate to get away with it. Shane Williams was slightly less lucky. He was involved in contact. And Gina Guga, another driver who was caught out. Thereafter, we had a great scrap for third place in the early stages between Stian Poulsen and Mario De Blanda. Eventually it came to the Parabolica. De Blanda went for a gap which was closed, the pair of them making contact and slithering out wide. Throughout the field there was some wonderful dicing. And Mikel Ascona, one of the stars of the race, he didn't finish inside the top 10, but he was always to be found in the thick of the action. The super scrap with David Cebrian, Tilla Tassi and Mauricio Hernandez. Out front though, it was formation flying from Thibaut Morg and Julien Brichet, as the Ascona, Tassi, Hernandez and Cebrian battle went all the way through to the checkered flag. Despite a last lap challenge from Julien Brichet, it was Thibaut Morg who, having taken the lead at about half race distance, withstood everything that Brichet could throw at him and came through to score his maiden win in the Seat Leon Eurocup. Brichet runner-up and Lucille Cipriano completing the podium and claiming the Lady Drivers' Trophy. A great day for the JSB competition team as they locked out the podium places. Disappointment for Andrina Gugger. Caught up in the early incident and unfortunately going no further than that. Chance for the drivers to have a quick drink and then on to the legendary Monza podium. Always a real highlight for the drivers to stand on the same steps as so many legends throughout the history of motorsport. So Lucille Cipriano in third place. Our runner-up, Julien Brichet. And our race winner, Thibaut Morg, on to the top step of the podium. French national anthem rings out in honour of an all-French podium for the Seat Leon Eurocup here in Italy. Fantastic racing as we move on to the presentation of the trophies. And as ever in the Seat Leon Eurocup, it's traditionally done by the team manager of the winning team or of the driver on each step of the rostrum. And in this instance, it is JSB competition for all three cars. So a day for them to celebrate. We also move on to the Lady Driver Trophy presentation for Lucille Cipriano. So it's victory in the 11th race of the Seat Leon Eurocup season for Thibaut Morg in Monza from Julien Brichet and Lucille Cipriano. Some great racing, but the weekend is only half done. We will be back at 11:50 tomorrow with all of the action from the concluding race of the weekend. Until then, as the champagne is not sprayed on the podium, it's goodbye from Monza and myself, Ben Evans. We'll see you tomorrow.